station of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
The sun is shining brightly in downtown Cincinnati on this Thursday afternoon. A makeup day today after the rain out on Monday night. It's a rubber game of the three-game series between the Reds and the Astros. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. A big, big win for the Reds here yesterday. I mean, they looked dead in the water, Chris. They had one hit through the first 8 innings.
Well, Tom, they're the second team in the last 20 years to be trailing in the 9th inning by 2 runs or more, having had only 1 hit or less, and come back to win the ball game. So that's how rare it is to see the Reds do what they did. And, of course, it was Jay Bruce stepped to the plate at the right time. That ball inside the first base bag spelled defeat for the Astros and a come-from-behind victory for the Reds. Man, oh man, we got so used to seeing that kind of thing happen last year. You're wondering if the Reds could repeat it again in 2011.
So now they try and win the series in the final game here today with Bruce in the lineup. Brett Myers against, yes indeed, the return and the season debut of Homer Bailey. First pitch next on Fox Sports Ohio. This homestand, the rubber game of the three-game set against the Astros. Blue skies, bright sunshine. What about the rest of the day? Let's check in with John Gum.
The weather for today's game looks a whole lot better than the weather did yesterday afternoon. Lots of sun today, warmer than yesterday. Upper 50s here by the first pitch, low 60s by the seventh inning. We'll be pushing close to the mid 60s there by the final out. Lots of sun the entire game. Enjoy the game today.
John, thank you. Let's take a look at Brad Mills' starting lineup here today. For the Houston Astros, leading off, it's Michael Bourne in center. Jason Bourgeois is in left. Hunter Pence in right. Brett Wallace, the first baseman. Chris Johnson over at third, and Bill Hall at second. A latter third of Clint Barmas, Humberto Quintero, and Brett Myers. And making his 2011 season debut, began the year on the DL with an impingement, they called it, in his pitching right shoulder, is Homer Bailey.
Well, he had a real good run at the rehab, Homer did, and you expect him to come out and throw the ball really like he did the last time he was in Louisville. Those are the numbers that he had last year. 19 starts overall. He has yet to have a complete season in the major leagues where he's not been sidelined by either injury or being sent down to the minor leagues. So Reds fans were hoping that this would be the year this year, but hey, coming up at the beginning of May is a lot better than coming up sometime in June or August. So we're happy to have him. He helps the rotation if he's throwing the ball right. Fastball, overhand curveball, little splitter now and again. Sometimes he likes to cut his fastball, but mostly power stuff from Homer Bailey.
Michael Bourne digging in, a 271 batter without a home run, 7 runs batted in, has 11 stolen bases on the year, and a first pitch fastball is in there at 92 miles per hour, and this game is underway. Homer, for the first time today, not only pitching here in 2011, but the first time he is pitching as a 25-year-old. He just celebrated his 21st birthday 2 days ago. Very, very good numbers in his 3 rehab starts for AAA Louisville. Homer on the disabled list from the 3rd week of May through the 2nd week of August in 2010. Again, it was a troublesome pitching right shoulder which put him on the shelf. Line to the shortstop Edgar Renteria, and Bourne retired to begin the game. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Bruce Stubbs a rare day off. It'll be Chris Heisey out in center field. Johnny Gomes back in the lineup, and yesterday's hero Jay Bruce in right. Gadish again at third, Renteria at short, Brandon at second, and Joey Votto at first, and Ryan Hannigan hanging his signs for Homer Bailey. Jason Bourgeois had a nice series. Breaking ball in there, strike one. A .386 batter is Bourgeois. Started all 3 games of this series. You see 4 of 8 with 3 RBIs and a pair of doubles. Whereas Carlos Lee was injured just before the Astros came into town when he collided with his teammate shortstop Angel Sanchez. And no Carlos Lee sighting. He's been around, but none as far as playing in a game in this series. One and 2 to Bourgeois. Homer started last year at 1-2 with an ERA at 5.5 in 9 starts before he went on the DL. When he came back, he was a very different pitcher. In 10 starts, had a 3-1 record, but the ERA 2 runs per 9 innings less, right at 3.5. And good location with his fastball, at least through the first 2 hitters in this game today.
Well, you know, his delivery now, Tom, has gotten so much better from the first time he broke on the scene. You know, sometimes it's not a good idea. It isn't the best thing when a kid comes up to the major leagues amongst all the hoopla, and he's got some pressure on him. And everybody expects him, because he was a #1 draft pick, to come right out of high school and be able to dazzle big leaguers. It's just not that easy.
Bouncer to the shortstop, and Renteria cuts it loose, and just in time, able to get Bourgeois. Boy, the first 2 hitters in this Houston lineup can motor. Bourne and Bourgeois.
And they both run hard down the line. I mean, speed is their game in this ball club overall, especially the first 2 guys. Bourgeois thought he may have beaten that throw, but he was out by just an eyelash.
So 2 up, 2 down, and now the right fielder Hunter Pence. 4 home runs, but 22 runs batted in for this .287 batter. 2 down, nobody on, and Bailey going to work. First pitch breaking ball and had Pence way out in front. Strike one.
Yeah, the point I was getting to about Homer is you see his delivery. It's much more compact now. It's more repeatable. There are less moving parts in it. When he first came up, he was long with everything. His arm kind of dragged behind. And now he's been able to get to a delivery that is nice and easy, kind of a cruising speed. Instead of going at 100%, he's going around 90%. So when you need that extra fastball, you've got something in the tank, and you're able to locate your pitches better when you're not full out on every effort.
One and two.
Take a look at Homer's motion, and you know, he's a guy that throws right over the top. He's always had pretty good alignment, so he'll be going straight towards the plate with his delivery. But I mean, that's just nice and relaxed right there. Keeps his front side closed. Nice follow through with a good bent back at the very end. That's textbook.
Roller foul. It remains 1 ball and 2 strikes on Pence. Reds getting out of town after the game today. They will fly to Chicago, open a 3-game series, 3 consecutive day games at Wrigley Field beginning tomorrow. And then lock up with these Astros beginning Monday night in Houston. 3-game series here before the Reds come back for an extended stay against the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Pirates. Again, the 1-2 to Hunter Pence is a fastball high. By the way, every game on the road trip will be on television here on Fox Sports Ohio Friday and Sunday, and then all 3 in Houston. Saturday will be a Fox National Network game of the week, and that'll be an early start time, 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern. Down the right field line, playable perhaps for Jay Bruce. It is in fair territory, and Bailey, his first start, a perfect inning. State Farm. State Farm agents are there when you need them. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com. By your local Ford dealer, Ford Drive One. By the Regional Tourism Network, book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. The Houston Ace on the mound here today. Been around a long time, most of his career in Philadelphia. His second year now in Houston is right-hander Brett Myers.
Well, Brett Myers over in his career. He's 1-1 this year, but he has 16 games over 500 in his career with an earned run average right around 4.1. A guy that has given up a lot of home runs, 8 of them on the year so far. And that's one thing to keep your eye on here during the rest of this ball game. As you know, during the day especially, this ballpark can give up some long balls.
Although it is still a little on the chilly side.
It is.
There is next to zero humidity in the air. Very cool, crisp, almost a fall-like feel to this May Thursday afternoon. 0-2 to Chris Heisey. But it is so nice to have the sun shining brightly, blue skies above. 0-2 the count on Heisey, playing in place of Stubbs here today, and that didn't take long. 3 straight pitches, and Heisey out of there on strikes. They're just not going to throw this guy fastballs. Take a look at the Reds' batting order. Renteria coming up, followed by Joey Votto, then Brandon Phillips, Jay Bruce, and Johnny Gomes with a latter third of Ryan Hannigan, Paul Janisch again at third, and Homer Bailey on the mound. Renteria takes inside, ball 1.
Yeah, speaking about throwing Heisey fastballs, Tom, of course, the scouting report is out on Chris Heisey, but also couple that with the fact that Brett Myers simply does not like to throw a lot of fastballs. He's one of those few starters in either a league in Major League Baseball that will throw around only 45% fastballs. Everything else is a breaking ball, a curveball, a slider, an off-speed pitch of one kind or another. Likes to cut his fastball a little bit. And you wonder, as you watch Myers at this stage in his career, whether he is throwing enough fastballs to keep the other team honest. I mean, after all, he's given up 8 home runs here in only 38 innings. You start doing the math on that, and he'll be leading the world.
3-0 gimme there by the home plate umpire, Tom Hallion. He is a crew chief. 3-1 on Renteria. Bill Cuzzy at first base, Bill Miller at second, James Hoy at third. And now a full count to the Red shortstop, making his 9th start of the year, and all of them have been at short. Renteria in the 10th inning of Saturday's 4-3 win over the Marlins delivered the game-winning pinch hit single to left field off Michael Dunn, playing in his 2039th game at short, and that is pulled just foul. A lot of at-bats for Renteria against Brett Myers and a pile of hits. 3-2 again. Struck him out. Houston defensively is brought to you by Ford. Bourgeois, Bourne, and Pence left, center, and right. Johnson, Barmas, Hall, and Wallace third to first, and Quintero behind the plate for Brett Myers. Joey Votto had a big hit in that 3-run bottom of the 9th inning last night, or yesterday afternoon more accurately. Drew Stubbs led off the inning with a walk. Heisey a single. After Stubbs had gone to second on a wild pitch, Votto knocked in the first run of the inning with a single into right. Brandon Phillips tied the game with a hit. Jay Bruce won it. Not a single batter recorded after the Reds had gone the front 8 innings with 1 hit. And quite honestly, it's a ball that should have been caught. And Hunter Pence said as much after the game was over last night. Chris Vallejo was given a triple on the play. But it's a ball more times than not that Hunter Pence is going to catch out in right center field.
Not bad at all for a start for Anuri Rodriguez, a Rule 5 draftee. The Houston Astros picked up yesterday's starter from the Tampa Bay Rays. They've got to keep him on the roster all year long, but if he pitches like that, would be the best guy they've got in the rotation.
Broken bat, roller back to Myers, and that's a quick 1-2-3 first for the Houston right-hander. We go to the second in a scoreless game. brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Well, for the first time, Chris, all year long, the 5 starters, at least when spring training began, are now healthy and part of the Reds' rotation.
Well, that's what everybody expected, Tom, and this guy was throwing the ball about as well as anybody in spring training. Homer Bailey before he was injured. Bronson Arroyo, of course, is being him. He's going to log a lot of innings and give the Reds a lot of innings this year. Johnny Cueto is going to pitch Sunday in Chicago. That'll be his first start. So it'll be interesting to see what this rotation actually can do once they go through it a few times. When they get into the flow and they start competing with each other as to who can outdo the guy who pitched before him. That's what really makes a healthy rotation.
Brett Wallace down a strike on a first pitch Bailey breaking ball, and a real good one down around his ankles. Fastball misses low and in. 1-1. Wallace at 367. 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in. Johnny Cueto, as Chris just mentioned, we just showed you a second ago, will make his 2011 debut on Sunday afternoon against the Cubbies. And the Cubs have changed their rotation for the weekend. Still be Matt Garza tomorrow afternoon, a series opener. First time the Reds have ever seen him since coming over from the Rays. Casey Coleman, a right-hander, will start on Saturday. And then Ryan Dempster, 1-3 with an ERA of over 8 so far this year. They're going to start him on Sunday. We know Dempster is a much better pitcher than those numbers would indicate. He was their opening day starter this year.
He was a victim of one of those starts where he went out and pitched like a third of an inning and gave up something like 7 or 8 runs. And that'll blow your earned run average up for quite a while. So do not be misled by that earned run average from Ryan Dempster. He's a quality pitcher. They can change speeds and keep him in the ballgame. Tell you what, Tom, of all the young hitters that we see around, you've got to put Brett Wallace in that category of a kid that really has a chance to do something in this league.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I started to say the same thing.
Got a nice level swing. He doesn't seem to chase too many pitches. I mean, it's just his sophomore year. I mean, he was up for a little bit last year. So they'll end up getting the book on him. But what I see out of Wallace is what we see a lot out of Joey Votto. You get ahead of the guy, and he fouls off a lot of fastballs so that he can stay back enough to hit the breaking ball. And he almost waits you out to the point you're tired of throwing fastballs to him. You finally throw a breaking ball, and there he is on a 2-strike count to hit it.
I don't know if one day if he'll have more power than Sean Casey, but he reminds me a little bit of Casey.
I think he's going to have a ton more power than Casey. I mean, Sean, Sean was a guy that was such a good hitter, and he could almost get a base hit almost at will, it seemed like. If you gave him a 2-0 count, he often would rather hit that ball to left center field somewhere than try to rip it out of the ballpark. So I think that Wallace is a guy, chase the bad one right there. That's a good changeup by Bailey. But Wallace is a guy that I think is going to try to turn on the ball a little bit more, which is more like what most first basemen do. Well, you talk about the run on that pitch. It looked like just a little splitter where Homer may have separated his fingers a little bit, his middle finger and his index finger, and took some speed off the ball and really ran that baby around.
First 4 batters retired by Bailey in the game here today, and there's a first pitch strike to the third baseman, Chris Johnson.
Yeah, there's what we're talking about here, a little bit of a splitter. You know, not every splitter is a forkball where you cram that ball right in between your 2 fingers. You just spread your fingers a little bit, take some speed off the ball, make sure you keep your fingers on the top of the ball as you release it, and you'll run that baby right away from the lefty.
This will be the first of 2 straight starts for Homer Bailey against this Houston ball club. He'll be scheduled to come right back and face them next Tuesday night at Minute Maid Park. And he just threw a fastball at 94 right by Johnson up and in. 5 in a row retired by Bailey, the last 2 on strikes.
Well, it's nice to be able to throw a splitter and get a strikeout on 1 pitch, and the very next batter come back and get him with a fastball. That way the other team's not sitting on 1 pitch as your out pitch. And I still think that Homer Bailey's breaking ball is every bit as good as his fastball or a splitter. Got a load of talent.
2 down for Bill Hall, a .217 batter with a home run and 10 runs batted in. A light crowd here today, and certainly when you don't have this game on the schedule, that is to be expected. A lot of folks who bought tickets for the game on Monday night, which was of course rained out. They bought that thinking they'd come to a night game, and maybe guys getting off work and bringing their families down and so forth. Well, work is in session, as is school. But for those that are here, you couldn't pick a better day to come to the ballpark. Hoping to stay away from more of that rain in Chicago over the weekend. We understand tomorrow is supposed to be a very nice day, not so much Saturday or Sunday. 2-1 to Bill Hall.
But of course, our TV crew, Tom, is more interested on what the weather outlook would be for tomorrow night in Chicago. Can you give us a little prognostication there?
Beautiful night tomorrow night.
All right, guys.
Because all of our guys will be off on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. 2-1 to count on Hall. And that means Lauren White from our crew, who is celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, Lauren.
All right.
She'll be able to celebrate her birthday in style in Chicago tomorrow.
Not sure there's a better place to celebrate.
Lined into right, and Bruce will track it down on one hop. Able to cut it off, and Bill Hall, the first base runner for either team in the game, with a 2-out single here in the top of the second inning.
Oh, you know, Billy Hall, we've talked about him for years. He's been a Reds killer, and if he doesn't get really squared up, he starts wide open. If he doesn't get that leg back going this way, he'll never be able to do that, hit the ball to right field. But he does it that time. Homer left it kind of on the middle of the plate right there, but Hall's got a good, quick bat and a solid major league hitter.
Now Clint Barmes, playing in his 5th game since being activated off the disabled list, broke a hand back in spring training. Off the end of the bat and number right at Votto, and he'll take it himself, and that's at the Houston inning. A hit a man left. Phillips Bruce Combs coming up in this scoreless game.
It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Our Sunsplash Thursday in Cincinnati. Reds come to bat here in the bottom half of the second inning. No score in the game. Brett Myers coming off a perfect first inning. Well, Brandon Phillips at .340, 4 home runs and 16 runs batted in. Told you Brandon tied the game in the bottom of the ninth inning with a base hit into right field. Every Reds hit in that ninth inning into right field. Heisey, Votto, Phillips, all between the first and second baseman, and the game winner by Bruce right up the line. Now, so much credit obviously goes to the Reds bullpen. I mean, Travis Wood gave him an excellent start, 6 innings, allowed only 2 runs. But then the bullpen kept him right there. The trio of Bill Bray, Logan Ondrusek, and Francisco Cordero, preventing Houston from going up any further than a 2-0 lead. Before that, Reds rally in the bottom of the ninth. Boy, in the first 8 innings were ugly.
Well, it was a well-pitched ball game. I don't know if you can call it ugly, but, you know, the Reds offense, just because they didn't jump all over the Houston Astros starter, I'm not sure. You know, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the pitcher, even if it's a young kid, a Rule 5 draftee, a guy you've never heard of. Sometimes they just go out there and spin the ball right and do a good job. It's nice to see the Reds come up on top, though. They did it so many times last year, 22 last at-bat victories. And that was about as dramatic as you can get.
Phillips drives one hard into right center field, but Bourne had him shaded that way, and that's the first out in the inning. Well, get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game. The Emmy Award-winning Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. We'll have you ready for Chicago and then Houston. Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Jim Day will be on the road trip. And naturally, I think a native son to the Commonwealth, Jeff Piccolo, will take the time to enjoy the Kentucky Derby. In Louisville, I might add. 1-0 to Jay Bruce. And now 2 balls and no strikes. Chris, you have the weekend off. Are you going to make your way down to Churchill Downs?
I think I'll be one of the few that don't make it down there.
There's a bouncer into right field, and the Reds have their first base runner of the afternoon against Brett Myers.
I've got a lot of freshman baseball to watch all weekend.
Nice.
Tonight, tomorrow, doubleheader Saturday. Hope the weather holds out. I know there's a lot of little leaguers and travel team players that are having tournaments and kicking off their season probably for the second time after all this rain. It seems like they haven't been out there in a couple of weeks, but I certainly hope that the weekend stays nice and all those young men can get out there and play some baseball.
And the girls too.
And the girls too, absolutely.
Soccer, lacrosse, a lot of things going on. Breaking ball away. It's ball 1 to Johnny Gomes. Two balls and no strikes to Gomes. Johnny with 6 home runs and 17 runs batted in, but trying to increase that batting average. Of course, he's drawn a pile of walks, so the on-base percentage is not all that bad, especially in relationship to his overall batting average at 182. Only 4 hits in his last 46 at-bats for Johnny Gomes. Especially with Scott rolling out. He's been on the DL a little over a week and a half now, almost 2 weeks, and expected to miss at least another week and a half to 2 weeks. There's ball 4. Johnny Gomes is one of the guys the Reds really need to get going offensively.
Yeah, well, you know, Tom, throughout the career of Johnny Gomes, he's shown us to be kind of a streaky player. He'll get hot, and I mean not just hot for a couple of games, but he'll get hot for a month or two. And That's the danger of sitting Johnny Gomes, because you never really know when it's going to click and when he can carry the ball club, because he certainly has the kind of offensive, talent to be able to carry the club for a while.
Well, now Ryan Hannigan. He looks at a strike. Ryan only a .211 batter, 2 home runs and 8 runs batted in. As Ryan was getting the overwhelming majority of the playing time behind the plate when the season began, but due to his offensive struggles, and not only the good hitting by Ramon Hernandez, but the exceptional catching and throwing by Ramon Hernandez has gotten him more playing time here of late.
Well, I think the way that Walt Jocketty and Dusty Baker have it envisioned when they signed Ryan Hannigan to an extension, and they brought Ramon Hernandez back this year, is that they were going to share the catching time a little more equally this year than last year. It used to be that Ryan Hannigan would catch Bronson Arroyo, and then maybe every other week somebody else, and then Ramon would catch most of the bulk of it. But I think that they're going to have a couple of pitchers caught by Hannigan.
And here's a big base hit by Hannigan. They're going to wave around Bruce. He will easily score. And an RBI single by Hannigan puts the Reds in front 1-0, with Johnny Gomes advancing first to third.
Well, he does a nice job right here of staying in the ball. When you're in a slump, every hitting coach will tell you the same thing. Hit the ball back up the middle, take the breaking ball and go the other way. Don't go out there and try to pull everything. And Ryan Hannigan has done that. Picks up a base hit. Bruce comes in to score, and they don't have to wait till the 9th inning today.
Now the Houston pitching coach, Brad Arnsberg, will visit Brett Myers on the mound. He retired the first 4 batters in the game, although Phillips retired to begin this inning, hit the ball very hard in the right center field. But then a ground ball single by Bruce, a walk to Gomes. And right now Myers will tell you that's probably his biggest batter in this inning. A guy that, while dangerous right now, as we mentioned, John only 4 hits in his last 46 at-bats, and he walked it.
Well, that's only part of it. The other part of it is that Johnny Gomes is hitting .444 off of Brett Myers. And Myers remembers that a lot more than he would read the recent stat sheet that says that Johnny Gomes is in a slump. Pitchers always remember what that particular hitter does, because it doesn't take much to click that hitter back into memory and say, hey, I hit Brett Myers pretty good right here. And all of a sudden your confidence changes, your approach changes. Paul Janisch looking for his first hit ever against Brett Myers. He's 0 for 6 right now.
Well, Reds be happy for a fly ball right now from Paul Janisch. Pitcher spot due up next. Runners on the corners, 1 out. The Reds yesterday, and that's when Travis Wood is at the plate, attempted the suicide squeeze with Chris Vallejo on at third. And Wood fouled the ball off. There's a fastball up and in, 2-1. So a lot of options here on 2-1 for Dusty Baker. Myers clearly doesn't want to fall any further behind. It's a count a lot of managers like to hit and run with, and maybe thinking about squeezing on. Here it comes, and he missed it, and the runner is going to be out.
Well, that's tough right there. If you're Paul Janisch, it's tough on you right here, but you still have to somehow try to get the bat on the ball. Maybe foul it off one way. He gives a pretty good attempt right here. This is a breaking ball down in the dirt the other way. And man, oh man, that would be a tough one even to try to get the bat on at all. So Brett Myers wastes the pitch at just the right time, in the right spot. Dusty Baker calls for the squeeze, and it doesn't work. And now you got 2 outs and man on first. I like that play anyway. I mean, it doesn't work 100% of the time. But had Brett Myers not thrown that ball in the dirt, at the very worst, probably Janisch would have been able to get a foul ball out of it.
Popped up into into foul territory, third base side, and that'll do it. But the Reds get one, they leave one, and at the end of two have a 1-0 lead.
He's been terrific, and the thing is that, you know, whenever you're a young pitcher and you're experiencing arm problems for the first time, and it just kind of initially started last year with his shoulder, it does kind of give you a cold slap of reality across the face where you're going, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be invincible. He's always been a hard, diligent worker. He came in great shape, came to spring training in great shape. However, we've had a little bit of a setback with the shoulder. We were extra cautious with it. We think he's ready to go now.
Our Geico Direct quote from the Reds pitching coach, Brian Price, on his starter today. Pitching in a major league game for the first time this year, Homer Bailey. He's thrown the first pitch strike as Bailey to 6 of the first 7. And he's retired 6 of the first 7. 8-9-1 in the Houston batting order. Quintero, the pitcher Myers. And then we roll over to the leadoff man, Michael Bourne, here in the third. Into center field, a base hit by Quintero.
Well, expecting a fastball, and Quintero's a good fastball hitter. Homer puts it out over pretty much the center of the plate right there. Even though it's down, he goes down to get it, sets up a sacrifice bunt situation now for Brett Myers. Yeah, Tom, it's an overlooked situation, but that number 8 hole hitter in the National League, it's a tough place to hit, number one, because oftentimes you don't get a lot of strikes. But if you can hit there, and if you can extend the inning to get the pitcher to the plate, or if you leave the inning off of the base hit, now you're setting it up perfectly, because you know what Brett Myers or any pitcher is up there to do at this point. Not going to be a hit and run, not going to let him swing away. They got the infield in, but he's just going to lay that ball down on the right side of the infield to see if he can't get Quintero over to second base.
Well, he fails his first 2 tries at putting down the bunt. He has 1 sacrifice so far this year.
This is where you're going for a strikeout.
Myers pulls the bat away on the pitch low. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You know, I always heard growing up, and even in the minor leagues, that the fastball, the high fastball, is the hardest pitch to bunt to get down. I'm not so sure about that. And I've stood in a batter's box, and if you've got a curveball like Homer Bailey dropping off the table, you want him stabbing at it right here. I wouldn't be afraid to go back to that pitch again.
Well, he bunts it foul on some kind of off-speed pitch.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a curveball, maybe been just a slider. Homer throws both, but he gets a strikeout, so he wins it right here by getting Brett Myers to kind of stab at it. But Myers, first of all, isn't nearly close enough to the plate and isn't far enough up in the batter's box. And those two things right there can make you a better bunter.
So the runner's still at first, and now one out in the inning. And here's Michael Bourne, who lined out to Edgar Renteria to start the ball game. Giannis, respecting the speed of Bourne, pulled in at third base, and there's a fastball, strike one to Bourne. Nothing in one to Bourne, and they come in with a fastball, and it swung on and fouled out of play. Reds come in an even 500 team at 15 up and 15 down, a game and a half back of St. Louis. Cardinals lost to the Marlins again last night. They'll wrap up their series in St. Louis today. That's Josh Johnson on the mound this afternoon for the Florida Marlins against Jake Westbrook. Cubs got back-to-back wins in Los Angeles. They're off today after traveling across country last night. We'll see the Cubs beginning tomorrow afternoon at Wrigley Field. That Marlin team, they're starting to make some believers out of people around the National League. They came here to Cincinnati, looked very good, won 2 out of 3. They've gone to St. Louis. They've won the first 2 of the 3 game of a 4-game series, I beg your pardon, with the finale, as I mentioned, in just a little while. Those aren't 2 easy stops for anybody. No, they're not. I think everybody thought their starting rotation would be good, but I believe that the way that their bullpen has come together so early in the year is a big difference for them. Born out of there on strikes. That's 4 of them for Bailey, and 2 outs here in the 3rd inning. Of course, the Phillies win seemingly every night, so if you're the Marlins, here you are at 19 and 10, and you're still a game behind the front runners in your division. Atlanta pounded Milwaukee in both ends of a doubleheader yesterday, including the 2011 debut and the Brewer debut for Zach Greinke. He got touched up early and often yesterday for the Brewers. Bourgeois grounded out to Renteria in the 1st inning. Quintero started this inning with a single into center field, but Bailey's retired the next 2 batters and now trying to end the inning right here and right now. Check swing, and he didn't go around. A ball and a strike. Two balls and a strike on Bourgeois, and now 3 balls and a strike.
Homer's going over to groom the mound up a little bit. Watch his left foot as he lands. He'll slip. He'll kind of hit the dirt and then slide, and that's the reason that ball went way out of the strike zone. You need a good solid landing area.
All right, 3-1 now to Bourgeois. And he walks him. So a walk to put the tying run in scoring position. And now you face, if not the best Astro hitter. I mean, Wallace has the best average right now, but as far as knocking in runs is concerned, Hunter Pence is their best run producer.
Well, this is an at-bat where Homer Bailey really needs to be able to control the outside of the strike zone. Hunter Pence loves the ball middle in. balls that are down and away, he'll flail out a little bit, but he really won't drive to right field unless he's really seeing the ball and on fire. And I don't get that feeling with him right now.
22 runs batted in so far this year for Hunter Pence. 2 on, 2 out. Reds leading 1-0, and a first pitch fastball up in the strike zone, and Pence jumped all over it but fouled it straight back.
Came right after him with the high hard one.
Get a look at the numbers for Pence with runners in scoring position and 2 men out. Overall, his numbers with runner in scoring position are closer to 390. That's 100 points better than his overall season average. Tried that outside corner and missed it. 1-1. Throws, got him. So he takes care of Pence after walking Bourgeois. Astros strand 2. Reds still lead 1-0. Toyota signed during our game today Darrell B. Johnson of Morrow, Ohio, who currently drives a 2010 Tundra. How about that? He'd be getting a brand new Tundra.
Why not?
Not bad. You can register for your chance to win in an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Local radio personality Bill Cunningham stopped by the TV booth to say hello, Chris, a moment ago, and tells us that apparently people in television for his show want to give him a big makeover.
He needs
Lord
one.
knows, that's right. If anybody needs one, that's him. It's nice to see Willie.
Hope they allow themselves plenty of time.
Yeah, they better have a couple days for that. There's a bouncing ball to second. When are you going to get your makeover?
I already had it. Thanks a lot.
Time now for the Farmers Insurance report card. Just activated by the Reds. Fred Lewis spent time in the big leagues with the San Francisco Giants. That was his original team. They had a real good year last year in Toronto, and you see his career numbers for Fred Lewis. I would not be surprised to see him in the lineup. Maybe even tomorrow when the Cubs face Matt Garza, because remember now, Lewis played for Toronto inside that American League East last year, while Garza was pitching inside that division with Tampa Bay.
Well, you know, you want it. Here's Fred Lewis down in the minor leagues, rehabbing, playing every day down there. And what you don't want to do is you bring a guy who's kind of in a groove and playing every day, then you sit him and you don't play him for a week, and then he loses whatever timing he was able to gain. And Dusty's aware of that. And Dusty's also aware of what Fred Lewis's numbers would be against Matt Garza over the years. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but I'm sure that, you know, Dusty goes through his whole batter matchups, pitcher matchups, all sorts of things before starting every lineup and figuring out how he's going to get things done. You're right. I would not be surprised to see him in that lineup.
And if you're wondering, Joel Luckham, our statistician supreme up here in the booth, tells us that Fred Lewis is 3 for 11 against Matt Garza. But there aren't many Reds that have any at-bats at all against Garza.
He's a good pitcher.
Yes, he is. Here's Renteria. He got ahead in the count 3-0 and wound up striking out against Myers in the first inning. And a breaking ball catches the outside corner. Strike one here in the third. Reds lead 1-0. Got a one-out single in the second by Jay Bruce. He went to second on a walk to Johnny Gomes, and Ryan Hannigan knocked in Jay with a single in the right. The only run for either team today. Double play ball all the way here. There's one, and that is that in the Reds' third. We go to the fourth. Reds 1, Houston nothing. Brought to you by JTM Food Group, proudly serving America's restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military. JTM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by John Deere. Visit your local Cincinnati John Deere dealer this Deere season. Reds lead 1-0. Brett Wallace, Chris Johnson, Bill Hall, the scheduled trio against Homer Bailey. Wallace struck out swinging, as did Johnson. Back in the second inning. 2 hits for the Astros, 1 walk. Bailey has struck out 4 through the first 3 innings. Started 2 and apparently did not go around, so it's 3 balls and no strikes to Wallace. We've already seen him swing 3-0 in this series. Taking all the way here, apparently, a fastball strike. Wallace having something to say to Tom Halligan. Apparently Brett thought that was ball 4. But the only opinion that matters is the man in blue behind the plate, and it's 3-2. So Bailey trying to come all the way back from being down 3-0 to begin the at bat, and here's a payoff pitch. Right back to the mound. Well, that's a good pitch by Bailey. Fastball at 93 right in on the knuckles of Brett Wallace.
Well, what's even bigger than that, Tom, is you have the leadoff hitter in the inning, and you go 3-0 to him, and you come right back. That's a little bit of a cut fastball that it looks like he worked right on the side of it. The thing that you look at with his motion, look how long his stride is. He stays back over the rubber so well back here. Keeps his weight is still back there. It's still back there, and then he really gets a long stride towards home plate. And if that stride is in the right direction, he is so much closer to home plate when he releases the ball than most pitchers who are his height, which is about 6 feet 4 inches tall. So you have that extra advantage of not only throwing the ball in the mid-90s, but being closer to home plate. It gives the hitter just a little bit less reaction time.
Right back to get ahead of Chris Johnson in 0-2.
But staying back over the rubber is the biggest thing. That enables him to get his leg outstretched and kind of straighten his leg out before he lands.
Homer rocks, kicks, and delivers, and there's a fly ball into right center field. Easy for Jay Bruce, and they're at 2 away. Our AT&T trivia question for today. It's a good question here today.
What is it?
Who are the only 2 players that have stolen 30 or more bases in a season for both the Reds and the Astros? Give you a little while to think about that.
That's pretty much a layup right there.
Well, but it's still a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
I mean, because both of the players, you're going back a little while in time.
I love those questions where I know the answer. So maybe that's the only reason I would call it a layup, because I only get about 5% of them all year long.
I'm with you. So are you saying that trivia, by and large, most of the time is a little on the tired side?
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm not the trivia buff.
Yeah. We know that.
Well, some people love it and are very good at it, and I respect them a lot for it because they remember things that I don't, like my phone number.
Well, we're going to have a whole generation of people that don't know their phone number.
Yeah.
Because everybody has them in their cell phone. Bailey ahead of Bill Hall, no balls and 2 strikes. Bailey has thrown nothing but strikes since falling behind 3-0 to Brett Wallace to begin this inning. Pretty impressive first 4 innings for Homer Bailey. Well, join FoxSportsOhio.com's Hal McCoy, Hall of Fame baseball writer, for a live in-game chat right now, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. 1-0 Reds lead, heart of the order against Brett Myers here in the last of the fourth inning. Votto, Phillips, and Bruce. Into left field, and that'll fall in a base hit for Joey Votto. So he's aboard to begin the bottom of the fourth inning.
Joey Votto getting a breaking ball, knowing in this at bat sometime you're going to get something off speed. That's a changeup from Myers. He elevates it, and Votto says, hey, I'll take that the other way and take a leadoff base hit. We got that Exmo working overtime here this afternoon. Looking good.
Well, according to Elias Sports Bureau, Joey Votto is the only player in the major leagues to have reached base safely via the hit, walk, or hit by pitch in each of his team's first 30 games. Well, now you can make it first 31 games. Well, if he reaches base all 3 games against the Cubs in the upcoming series at Wrigley Field, he will set a Reds modern-day team record to begin a year. Currently held by Dave Collins, who reached base in the first 34 games of the 1981 season. Of course, he had to do it in his final at bat yesterday. But he takes care of things in his second trip to the plate here today. And it's ball 1 to Brandon Phillips, who lined out to right center field on a ball run down by Bourne his first time up. Goes that way again. But again, a Houston defender is there to haul it in. So 2 loud outs for Brandon Phillips here today.
Yeah, but I still like that approach by Phillips. You know, coming into this ballgame, he's had virtually no success at all against Brett Myers. A 136 batting average against Myers every time they've hooked up. But in 2 at-bats, he's hit 2 line drives. And I know it's a big old hang with him because you hit the ball hard and it's right at somebody. But I still like that approach by Phillips. Stick with it, Brandon.
But now Jay Bruce. He singled and scored. The only run of the game that came in the Reds' second inning. Ball 1. 3 American League games are underway. No score in St. Petersburg between the Jays and the Rays. Detroit trying to finish off the Yankees. A 1-0 lead, that game in the bottom of the second inning. Tigers went into that series in a horrific slump, and they have beaten up the Yanks. And you talk about a quick turnaround. What time did that game end in Boston last night? Close to 3 o'clock in the morning? 2:45 a.m. after a 2.5-hour rain delay. And they are right back in it in the first inning at Fenway today, the Angels and the Red Sox.
You know, they played the game actually played for 5 hours. Plus, you add the rain delay to that. You're looking at 7.5 overall.
That ball into right center field, and it'll go all the way to the wall. On his way to third is Votto. They're going to stop him right there on a double by Jay Bruce. So Bruce now with hits in 3 consecutive at bats, going back to the game winner yesterday afternoon.
Well, Bruce hits this one very well. His first base hit was kind of a seeing eye ground ball, but he goes down to get a pretty good sinking fastball right there for Brett Myers. And Bruce likes that over the plate, and he especially likes it down. And he lines that ball right in the gap. It looks like Joey Votto has intentions of going to home, but Mark Berry's going to say, hold on right there. So now a big opportunity now for Johnny Gomes.
Well, safe at second is Jay Bruce, safe and secure. As is Joey Votto at third. Safe and secure in New York Life. Ball 1 to Johnny Gomes. Johnny walked his first time up. Reds trying to add to a 1-0 lead against Brett Myers and the Astros here in the 4th inning. That breaking ball didn't do much of anything. 2-0.
He's trying to keep that curveball on Johnny Gomes, and he's running the count 2-0. Now with Brett Myers, that does not mean you're getting a 2-0 curveball. Here's a guy that throws just about fewer fastballs than anybody else in the National League, or right there with him.
Ball 3.
Got a base open. And now they're just going to go ahead. They got the instruction from Brad Mills, the manager, to just go ahead and walk Johnny Gomes right here.
That is a 22nd walk of the year given to Johnny Gomes. His teammate across the diamond, Joey Votto, has been walked 26 times. So Votto and Gomes have combined now for 48 walks. They rank 1st and 2nd in the league in that category.
Got to find somebody to drive him in. And up to the plate comes the guy that's got the only run batted in on the day.
That would be Ryan Hanigan. He had a run-scoring single to right field in the 2nd inning.
Top-end curveball. You know, more often than not, you get the high strike on a fastball. You don't get the high strike on a high curveball because you really don't want it up there anyway.
They're loaded with one away for the Reds catcher, and another breaking ball is belted into left field, a base hit. This will drive in a couple of more runs. And Hanigan with all 3 RBIs today in a 3-0 Reds lead.
Well, Ryan Hanigan coming through big time today. He gets a curveball that hangs pretty much belt high on the inner third of the plate. That's a great pitch to hit. And he comes up with the bases loaded, drives a couple in. So he's got a base hit to right field, now a base hit to left, and he's got all 3 runs batted in.
Here's Paul Janich. Janich wound up popping up in foul ground to the shortstop Barmes his first time up. Of course, that was after the failed suicide squeeze attempt with Gomes at third base. One on and foul tipped. 1-2 now on Janich. Two and two to Paul. Two on, two in. And Janich with a drive into deep left field and just in front of the wall. What a nice play by Bourgeois. We talked about it being just a little bit on the chilly side here today, so it wasn't going to carry like we'll see it, say, in a month from now. That's a nice play by Bourgeois.
I'll tell you what, had this game been played in Houston, that ball would have either been off the wall or into the Crawford boxes. Nice play by the left fielder Bourgeois. No way Johnny Gomes can tag from second base on that one and go to third base. He was halfway to third when Bourgeois made that catch. And that's the right play for a runner.
Big hack by Homer Bailey.
I like it. A Texas-sized hack. Oh,
2 to Bailey. Hannigan, one of the offensive stars so far here today. A couple of hits, has knocked in all 3 runs, and that will end the inning. But the 2-run single by Hannigan puts the Reds in front 3-0 at the end of 4. FoxSportsOhio.com and bid on a basement finishing system from the Basement Guys. Valued at $20,000. Well, that's quite a basement. Go to FoxSportsOhio.com and place your bid right now. Man. Get a look at a brand new Great American building behind Great American Ballpark. That will be the largest building built in the United States of America in this 2011 calendar year. It's a beauty.
They have something special at the very top of that. What is that they have up there? Looks like a little miniature tennis court. What do they call that? A tiara?
Yeah, a lot of them are being worn the other day during the royal wedding the other day. You know, by little girls all over town and different things at schools were wearing those things to school. All your kids are older. You wouldn't know about that.
I think we're talking about something different.
No, but that's what it looks like. It looks like a crown, a tiara that.
Oh, okay. No, I mean actually under the tiara.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There is some type of an athletic facility.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I'm sorry. Fly ball into left field. What do you mean, like a handball court?
Yeah, like a little miniature tennis court.
Well, those are called. Yeah, you're right. Of course, that's a big sponsor of one of the great sporting events here in the greater Cincinnati area every single year. You know, out at the Western Southern tennis facility. I guess they did a lot of the promotional events, or will have a lot of the promotional events held up there. Now, why am I drawing a blank on that sport? I mean, they play it all over town here in the wintertime.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
You know, I mean, I'm racking my brain here now. I mean, you know, we know about tennis, we know about racquetball, and now, I mean, I got buddies of mine that play the game. I mean, you know, you play outside when it's like 10 degrees. Apparently, they want to check on the batter. Humberto Quintero, the manager and the trainer, come out.
He tried to wave him back to the dugout, but they're going to come out anyway. I'm not sure what they're really talking about, Tom. He waved them back at first. Now he's having a conversation out there to determine that he's all right.
Paddle tennis is a game I'm trying to think.
Well, that would be.
It's making me crazy. Thank you.
Yep. 10 degrees. You have friends that play that at 10 degrees?
I mean,
what kind of fun can that be?
People love it. I mean, there are people that play outside. Women I've seen out playing it. And they go out there when it's like 20, 30 degrees. The colder it is, the better the ball bounces on the surface it plays. You can play balls off the wall. And I mean, I've never tried it, but I mean, I know a lot of people that are crazy about playing that game. 1-1 to Quintero. Fastball strike on the outside corner. I want to thank my mother-in-law for sending me a text to remind me of what that's called. Thank you. Check swing and a miss. So Quintero is out of there. And man, through 4 2/3 innings here today, I'm not sure Homer Bailey's ever looked better than he's looking so far here today.
Well, I'm not sure we've seen a starting pitching performance by a Red starter in the last few weeks that have been anywhere near this. I mean, he's just completely dominated this Houston ball club. They've got 2 hits overall. He struck out 6, walked only 1 batter. You know, when you see this a lot, and it sounds like it's more of a general observation. I don't have the numbers to back it up, but it just seems like the first time a pitcher comes off the disabled list after rehab starts, they usually have a pretty good run of it. Now, it didn't work out for Zach Greinke and the Milwaukee Brewers. He only pitched, 4 innings and gave up, 4 or 5 runs last night. But oftentimes you see that very first after rehab start is a dominant performance for as long as they keep that guy out there. But this is what we have been missing from Homer Bailey all the month of April. Bring him on. Keep him healthy.
2-1 of the pitcher Myers, who struck out trying to bunt a runner over back in the 3rd inning. Got a bouncing ball. Phillips is there. Plenty of time. 1-2-3 for Bailey in the 5th. 5 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball for Homer Bailey. Coming to play him, the St. Louis Cardinals. And on May the 14th, be one of the first 20,000 fans in attendance and receive a one-of-a-kind Sparky Anderson bronze statue, courtesy of John Morrell. For tickets to the Reds and the Cardinals that entire weekend, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Our AT&T trivia question answer time. The only 2 players to steal 30 or more bases in a year for both the Reds and the Astros. One of them here today, and one has been around frequently as well. The great Joe Morgan, a Hall of Famer, of course, now part of the Reds front office. And the current Reds first base coach, Billy Hatcher. Izzy puts a bunt up the 3rd base line. This will stay fair. And a bunt hit for Heisey to begin the Reds' 5th inning.
Or you couldn't have laid it down there any better. I mean, it stayed right on the grass, did not roll into the dirt. If it rolls into the dirt, it's going to roll into foul territory. But it stays right on that grass.
You know, there's the old adage, Chris, about it doesn't have to be a perfect bunt. If the third baseman is playing as far back as Wallace was, I mean, that ball could have been 10 feet to the fair side of the foul line and still been a hit.
Well, you want to make sure that you don't bunt it right back to the pitcher.
Right.
But other than that, if the third baseman's playing back, in this case Chris Johnson, we don't even see him in the screen right here. So you got all this area up the line here to be able to go with it. It helps to have some wheels, and Heisey has those too.
Renteria showing bunt, takes way inside. It's a lot of stolen bases for Billy Hatcher. Of course, he was a postseason hero for the Astros. That great series back in the days when the LCS was a 5-game series. Back in 1986. The Astros lost in 5 to the New York Mets, the eventual World Series champions. And of course, who could ever forget what he did in the postseason wearing a Reds uniform in 1990. A 1 delivery, and it's a breaking ball away. Jesse Orozco on the mound. Billy Hatcher said, "See you later." That was the 14th inning in Game 6. I guess that was actually when they went to the best of 7. So I beg your pardon. I apologize for that. The Mets end up winning that game in 16 innings to clinch the pennant. And you talk about what Hatcher did for the Reds in the 1990 World Series. He hit .519 in the playoffs, 9 for 12 in the World Series, and established a World Series record for highest batting average in a 4-game series. Had 7 consecutive hits to start the series, and had 4 doubles in the series.
Man, what a series.
Swing and a miss. Runner goes. Throw to second, and Heisey is safe. Looked like Hall was a little bit tardy getting to the bag because that throw actually beat the runner.
Yeah, that's got to be something that would really irritate the catcher, Alberto Quintero, because the throw is on time. Hall is holding his ground to make sure that he doesn't give it up too early in case the ball's hitting the second base hole that he vacates. But you still got to be there in time, and he never really gets the tag down. That ball is there in plenty of time, but Heisey slides around the tag.
Two and two now on Edgar Renteria. And it's into right center field, a base hit. They're going to wave around Heisey. It's bobbled out there by Pence, a run scoring hit for Renteria. 4-0 Reds lead.
Well, small ball to the nth degree right here. A bunt base hit, a stolen base, and then a little flare into right field with a speedy Heisey at second. He comes around, and it's 4-zip. You know, you put the pressure on the outfielder right there. That's what Mark Berry does, because he knows that Hunter Pence has a nice arm out there. He's usually pretty accurate, but you still have to be able to field the ball, come up throwing. It's got to be a perfect throw to get him at the plate. And he was so tried to get to the ball so quickly, he never got a handle on it.
I tell you, it is painful, though, to watch Pence throw. I was sitting out there in right field yesterday with my son in the second row. And it's almost as though he can't get his shoulder up any higher than parallel when he goes to throw the baseball. That doesn't mean it hurts him, but it does hurt to watch him throw the ball.
Well, he doesn't throw with the arm action that you would teach. But he makes some pretty accurate throws despite kind of an unorthodox delivery. Now, what you want to see is a right-handed reliever come out of the bullpen with that angle, right?
That's right.
You know, getting back to that Billy Hatcher video, he never talks about that series. I mean, unless you pull it out of him. I mean, he's a really humble guy. I'd love to make a little DVD and slip it in the on the charter flight DVD player. And let these players on the Reds team see what a great player some of their coaches were, especially, that particular, isolated time for Billy Hatcher. I mean, I'd love to see him hit that home run and then kind of backstep towards first base.
Billy was a really good player for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Tough out. Man, was he a tough out. He'll drop a bunt down on you, and then the next AB and go deep.
Well, I'm trying to remember. He started that series, and he had 7 straight hits to break that record formerly held by Babe Ruth. Didn't they hit him on the hand, and he was out for the rest of the series, broke his hand, something like that? In Game 4. Runner goes, and Votto puts a bat on the ball. Renteria will advance on to second base, and that's a first out in the inning. That was Billy Hatcher's first at bat in Game 4. I mean, he had just torn up the Athletics. And remember that pitching staff, they were running out there. Dave Stewart, Bob Welsh. I mean, that was a big time rotation, and it was the first at bat in Game 4 against Dave Stewart. He drilled Hatcher, and he was finished. And the series was finished later that same night. Some of the Reds players could also probably look up the career numbers of Dusty Baker.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about some numbers.
Well, it's like this every generation, though. It's a lot of players just don't appreciate and know how good their coaches and managers were when they played. I mean, it was like that when we grew up. I didn't learn until long after the fact what a terrific player and great career Frank Howard had. And he was my manager in San Diego my rookie year. You're so more involved in what you're doing and what the league is doing this year and how they're going to pitch you and so on, that you don't have the appreciation for the depth of the history that these guys bring.
Of course, Chris Spire, you saw him as well. He was a second pick in the secondary phase of the 1970 amateur draft by the Giants. Played 19 years in the major leagues. Almost 2,300 games. A 3-time All-Star. 1-2 on Brandon. And here's strike 3 call. Brandon thought that pitch was outside.
Well, he's had 2 line drives on the day. He's not going to get a chance to hit another one right here. Tom Hallion says, Rick, swing the bat today.
Jay Bruce, a swing and a miss. Bruce had a double to win the game yesterday. Singled and scored his first time up today. Doubled to right center and scored again in the 4th. Pitch to hit right there. Jay liked to have it back. 1-2 to Jay Bruce. Reds with a run in the second, 2 in the 4th. All 3 of those runs driven in by Ryan Hannigan. And then after a bunt hit by Heisey and a stolen base, Renteria played to Chris with a single to right center. Renteria, the runner at second, with 2 men out. And a 2-hopper down to first. Wallace will go to the bag, and that's that. But the Reds tack on a run, and at the end of 5, lead the Astros in the rubber game of this series 4-0.
Ohio, on to the 6th inning we go. Jim Day back with you down here by the Reds dugout. I'd like to invite you to hang around after the game for Reds Live post game. Homer Bailey pitching brilliantly so far, coming back from shoulder surgery. We're gonna go medical on you. You've heard of the cowboy Jeff Brantley? Well, he's going to be Dr. Jeff Brantley today. A couple shoulder surgeries for him over his career. The inner workings of the shoulder. Coming up on Reds Live postgame, brought to you by King's Honda and the King's Auto Mall. Visit King'sHondaUSA.com. Back upstairs to the Champion Windows broadcast booth. Boys, you won't believe the orthopedic terms the cowboy is going to drop on the postgame show.
All right. I'm not surprised a bit. You know, here's a guy that's been through 2 different shoulder surgeries that I know. He knows a little bit about it. And from the patient standpoint, I wouldn't let him operate on me, but I certainly let him talk about it.
But he would convince you if you hung around with him long enough that he could do it.
I'd want to see him operate on a barbecued pig first. And he can do that.
Right. And Bruce able to run it down, and Bourne retired.
Now you're going to get a chance to talk in depth over the weekend. A little baseball with the Cowboy. You and Cowboy are going to team up to bring the games back to Cincinnati from Chicago.
Yep, and then you'll be joining us down in Houston, Texas.
It'll be 68 degrees in Chicago and about 94 degrees in Houston.
You know what, though? The way it's been around here lately, I don't think I'd complain about 94 for a few days in a row.
Well, you don't have to.
You're right. I'll be back here where it's 50 again. 1-0 to Bourgeois, who's bounces short and drawn a walk. Boy, Bailey having a hard time throwing this guy strikes. Bailey able to pitch around that walk to Bourgeois back in the 3rd inning. At the time, a 1-0 game, and the walk moved another batter, Quintero, into scoring position. But he retired Hunter Pence to end the inning. And there's a rocket. Maybe that's why you don't throw him a strike.
Well, you know, one of the successes, or the keys to success today for Homer Bailey is to not walk either Bourne or Bourgeois. Now, he walked Bourgeois in the 3rd inning, as you said, but he had a guy on base ahead of him in Quintero, the catcher. So he kind of clogs up the base paths. So now Homer, you know, kind of a big delivery, long and deliberate to the plate. He's always had a hard time holding runners. So now you get one of these speedsters on there, and he can kind of distract you a little bit. Can't let it get into your head, especially when you're up by 4.
Hey, I know it's only been a 3-game series where we've seen Bourgeois here. There he goes on the first pitch, throw by Hannigan, and not going to be in time. And you don't know if you played him every day for 30 games, 40 games, 70 games, played him an entire year as your everyday left fielder, center fielder, whatever. I mean, here's a guy at one time that was a 2nd-round draft choice by Texas. Atlanta picked him off waivers 5 years later. Seattle got him in the Rule 5 draft. Signed as a minor league free agent by the White Sox, then Milwaukee. Houston got him off waivers a year and a half ago from the Brewers. But at least in this 3-game series, he has been a very impressive player. At the plate, running the bases and playing the outfield.
I agree, and I think there might be an internal debate going on in Houston as to what really they want to do with Carlos Lee. I mean, they owe him something like $37 million on that long-term contract that they signed years ago with him. And he, quite frankly, recently has been underperforming. Coming into this series, not eligible to play because he's got that side injury that he injured. But, you know.
There's a base hit that'll drive in the first Houston run of the game. Pence trying to stretch it into a double, and he is safe at second base. That makes it a 4-1 ball game.
Well, the whole play develops right in front of Hunter Pence, so he makes his own decision as to whether he's going to get to second base or not and how he's going to slide. And he gets there just ahead of the throw. Nice play by Brandon Phillips to try to get there with that Renteria to get the tag on him. But back to Carlos Lee. I mean, comes into this series with the Houston Astros here. Can't play, he's injured. Hit about 200. Really not much of a defender in the outfield, but he's there to hit some home runs. And, you know, there is some internal discussion, I'm sure, as to whether they're going to think about eating that contract and kind of turning the page on that part of the Houston Astros and let some young players play, bring some guys up and see what's going on here. Of course, the Astros are in the midst of an ownership change. Drayton McClain has the ball club for sale. Evidently, there's now one party that he is negotiating with exclusively on that. And I'm not sure if that's going to change anything on the payroll, but what they have seen recently in the payroll is it's decreased every year. 3 years ago it was over $100 million. Last year it was $90 million, and now it's down around where the Reds are.
Well, a couple of big batters here now for Homer Bailey. Houston's only down by 3 runs, and we're just in the 6th inning. After retiring Bourne to start the inning, a single by Bourgeois. He stole second, scores on a double by Pence. Wallace today has struck out and bounced out to Bailey. 0-1 account on Brett Wallace. Check swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
Well, he's really handled Wallace well. Wallace, I think, in my opinion, the best hitter in this lineup right now. And a tough matchup for Bailey, but he got him the first time on a changeup, a little splitter going down and away. A good 3-2 fastball right in on the knuckles got him a little dribbler back to the pitcher's mound. And now he's way ahead 0-2. He can kind of go the same thing he did the first time up, which is expand the strike zone.
So they come back inside again, this time with a breaking ball down and in. It's 0-2 still to Wallace. '85 pitches now in the game for Homer Bailey. A few bodies beginning to stir around for the first time today in the Reds bullpen. Logan Andrusik begins to throw. Bailey has walked 1, fanned 6, allowed the 1 run on 4 base hits. And now trying to put away Wallace on an 0-2 pitch. Just off the corner. Reds have had so few games like today where here you are in the 6th inning and you're playing with a lead. They've had to come back virtually or seemingly every single game with all the first inning runs they've allowed, the most by far in the National League so far this year. So really, when you look at their bullpen, I mean, the closer Cordero's not getting many save chances. The Reds are winning. It's been generally winning late, if not in their final at bat like yesterday. And so to stack them up the way they like them, where, you know, at this point in time, it was Massett or Chapman, then the other 7th, 8th, Cordero the 9th. Well, Andrusik has pitched his way into being the right-handed part of that setup equation. I think if Bailey threw 6, we'll probably see Andrusik, Chapman, and Cordero the rest of the way. Phillips. This will be out number 2 in the inning. On to third goes Pence. Bailey spot due up 4th in the bottom of the 6th inning. So who knows if he can take care of Johnson here? Maybe Dusty Baker sends him out there for the 7th.
You know, he may ask him. Well, Dusty Baker does that a lot. He'll ask the pitcher, how do you feel? And knowing Homer Bailey, he's not going to tell you he ever feels tired or bad. He'll say, I feel great, Skip. I like to go back out there. In fact, in the interviews that Homer did prior to his start today, they asked him how long he could go. He said, I can go anywhere from, 100 to 105 pitches. And he's right now ready to deliver 89, number 89. So the bullpen has been worked a lot. Now, I know you want to get Chapman some work. You probably want to get Francisco Cordero some work. I'm always of the mind that you leave your starter in there until he tells you it's time to leave, or the hitters tell you.
1-2 now on Johnson.
I'll tell you what's impressed me most about Homer Bailey this afternoon is the fact that we don't see him ever fall into the mode that he used to fall into all the time, which is get frustrated, rear back, and just try to throw the ball by a hitter. I mean, his delivery has stayed nice and smooth. He's got that cruising speed going. He hasn't thrown the ball really over 93, 94 miles an hour max, but most of them are down around 89 to 92, which shows me he's found a level of effort where he can pitch and locate the ball, and that's the transition from being a thrower than to a pitcher.
1/3, 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. 2 balls and 2 strikes a count on Chris Johnson. Be the 20th pitch of this inning for Bailey. That's the most he's had in any inning today. And here it comes. It'll be pitch number 21 in the inning.
That may have been the first time today we've seen Homer really overthrow the fastball. Hannigan wanted it up, but Homer just kind of let it fly.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Johnson, and it's pulled foul. 3-2 breaking ball there.
That's how far this young man's come. And you give Homer Bailey a lot of credit. I'm sure you give Brian Price credit too for getting into him and helping him. But you know, when he's down in AAA and he meets with Teddy Power, something special happens, I think, between those two.
Strike 3 called, and that'll do it. In the Houston 6, much to the chagrin of Mr. Johnson. So Bailey, 6 strong innings here today. It's his 7th strikeout. Coors Light 6th inning, and now it's time for the Coors Light Freeze Camp. Chris Welsh.
I love this part of our show. Coors Light Freeze Cam. Tell you what, Bailey hit in the corners today. He may have got a little help from Tom Hallion, the home plate umpire, on the last strikeout on Chris Johnson, but he has been all over the corners, fastballs, breaking stuff, and right now owns a 4-1 lead.
That was the Coors Light Freeze Camp, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Those are the numbers so far on Homer Bailey, and we'll see if his day is over. He still looks very focused sitting down there in that Reds dugout, so his day may not yet be over. Has a 4-1 lead. Brett Myers, the starter, still on the mound for the Astros. Well, Myers pitching into the 6th inning. Faces Gomes, Hannigan, and Yanish. Hannigan has been the thorn in the side of Myers today. And Hannigan going to have a chance to knock in some more runs after this two-base hit by Johnny Gomes. So a much better day today by Gomes. He's walked twice and now doubled. Boy, maybe this will be the start of one of those streaks you talked about, Chris.
You know, Tom, you've got to know the matchups. And that's one thing Dusty Baker takes a lot of time in looking at. And he knew that coming out of this ball game that Johnny Gomes has really had great success against Brett Myers. .444 batting average over there 9 times that they have faced each other. And Johnny's looked good at the plate, on base 3 times, and he's led the inning off here with a double. Play a little add-on here.
Hannigan with a run-scoring single to right in the first inning. A bases-loaded 2-run single to left field in the 4th inning. The Astros have their corner infielders even with their respective bags. As Hannigan looks at a breaking ball, strike 1. Was pitching deep into a game, nothing new from Myers. He went 6 or more innings in 32 of his 33 starts last year, and at least 6 innings in every start so far this year. But he's only through 5 so far today, as that one's fouled away, although there's no action in the Houston bullpen. As soon as you say that, now they begin getting someone warmed up in the bullpen. That would be Valerio De Rosario, the former Red. Barring any complications or rainouts, the Astros are on their way to Pittsburgh. The Reds, of course, on their way to Chicago. This will be the pitching matchup again next Tuesday night in Houston. There's a fly ball that should advance Gomes on to third base, sending Bourne all the way to the warning track, and Gomes does advance. So a productive out by Hannigan. One away here in the 6th inning.
Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results, JTM.
Fastball spins Giannis out of the way. The Astros bring their infield in, trailing by 3 here in the 6th inning. A runner at third and 1 out. Fred Lewis is now standing in the on-deck circle, swinging a couple of bats to get ready perhaps for a pinch hit appearance. 1-0 to Giannis. Giannis never able to get the bat on the ball on that suicide squeeze attempt with Gomes at third back in the 2nd inning. And then Paul lined out on a leaping grab in front of the wall by Bourgeois in the 4th. Fly ball center field is more than enough to bring in the run. Gomes will tag, and Gomes will score. Nice job by Giannis. Sac fly RBI, and the Reds get that run right back that Houston scored in the top of the inning. So the day is officially over now for Homer Bailey. Well, what an excellent season debut for the young Texan. 6 innings, allows 4 hits and a run, only walked 1 batter and struck out 7. That's one of the better games he's pitched as a major leaguer.
I can't agree with you more, Tom. He just looked in control of the ball game and himself the entire game.
You heard in the background, the official score today has As that one is blasted into right center field by Lewis, and welcome to Cincinnati, Fred Lewis. So a couple of guys who began the year on the disabled list just back during this series, contributing in a big way today. Homer Bailey on the mound, and now a pinch hit home run by Fred Lewis. And the day is over for Brett Myers.
Well, not known as a home run hitter, but nonetheless, he's got plenty of power, and he gets right into that low inside part of the plate, left-hander's wheelhouse, and gives it a ride. Well, what a way to welcome yourself to a new ball team. Now, he was around all spring training. That's not like you're here during the regular year. I'd like to see a whole lot more of that.
We might see it tomorrow. Because although we didn't ask Dusty about it, it wouldn't be a bad bet to think that Fred Lewis will be starting tomorrow against Matt Garza. Our Skyline Chili pitching change brings on Anerio Del Rosario. For the Reds, a lead by 5. Matt Downs takes over at third base, part of a double switch for Chris Johnson. And replacing Myers, the former Red, Anerio Del Rosario. Been a good day for Chris Heising. 1 for 2, has been on base 2 straight times. He struck out to lead off the game on 3 pitches, but then walked in the third, had a bunt single, stole the base, scored a run in the 5th. Of course, you never know what the rest of this game may bring. You never know what tomorrow may bring. Not guaranteed to anybody. But, you know, all of a sudden, maybe the way you feel about things is a little bit different when you see a couple of guys come back that you were counting on being there from the beginning. Bailey, Lewis helping lead the charge in a 6-1 lead for the Reds. We go to the 7th. Homer Bailey came ready to roll here in this his 2011 debut after beginning the year on the disabled list. 6 innings, a 4-hit, 1-run baseball, striking out 7 and walking only 1, and now taking over on the mound for him. Well, the Reds in front 6-1 is Logan Ondrusek. What a great year he's having.
Boy, he really has. 95 pitches for Bailey in 6 innings. That would be a lesson for maybe some of the other Red starters that have run their pitch counts up higher than that over 5 innings. But Logan's been good. 1.5 earned run average. Big, tall right-hander. Really beginning to feel like he belongs in the big leagues. Pitching aggressively. Nice downward tilting slider. That split finger action fastball that he throws is, man, that really tumbles.
Beauty. Bill Hull walking about 20 feet outside the batter's box, and he's asking the home plate umpire a question. The home plate umpire, Tom Hallion's not even looking at it.
Yeah, Tom Hallion's on a little bit of a short fuse right now. Chris Johnson came very close to getting thrown out of the ball game after arguing the call that ended the last inning for the Astros. And Billy Hall didn't like that pitch. He thought it was upstairs.
Boy, Hall not happy. He slams that bat head right on top of the plate, doesn't leave the box. I don't know what it was about the pitch that he didn't like. Well, now 2 pitches ago. What's wrong with that pitch? Now, the one to Johnson, you know, I can understand why he was upset. That called 3rd strike down the inning. And now Hall is gone, and he's gone from the game.
Gone for good. You know that was happening.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how a batter can allow a second pitch strike or a strike early in the at-bat to just ruin his day like that. I don't get it. But I think that there must be some chirping coming from that Houston Astro dugout all game long.
Mills will make his way back to the Astros dugout. Hall will make his way into the Astros clubhouse.
Get that bus started up.
I tell you what will take a load off your mind if you're frustrated. You and I did it on the very same night. We work in the communication business and had 0 communication with one another last year. There's a base hit in the center field when both you and I drove to Pittsburgh and you and I drove home. We had our little convoy going on the ride, and then that was after what, a two-hour rain delay that night? When did we get here? About 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
How did that happen? Why didn't you just drive me?
I'd have been happy to. But we both had our own cars, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to rent one and then turn it into somebody.
Well, my car would fit inside your car. You could just open the tailgate. I'd have rolled my right into the back seat.
Should have done it. Actually, not really. I like the idea of separate driving that night. 0-1 on Humberto Quintero.
Well, I just can't keep up with you on the highway, and I want to warn you, you know, the last time I drove with you from Chicago to Cincinnati, I know you'll be making that drive back after the series in Chicago with the Cubs. But you enhance the financial coffers of the Indiana State.
Not anymore.
What?
It's a broken bat pop-up. And they're 2 away in the inning. No.
So
not going to drive too fast anymore.
That's good.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to let you off. I mean, after all, if anybody deserved a break.
That was in Ohio.
You were the guy that deserved
that
the
wasn't
break.
here, was it? In Indiana? Well, that was Ohio, wasn't it?
I thought that was Indiana.
It might have been Indiana. Maybe the next day was when I was in Ohio. The next weekend when I drove up to Detroit. Got pulled over by a guy in Lima. And
You're not getting out of the ones in Lima.
No.
He didn't recognize you as a big Ohio State fan?
No, he didn't. He recognized me well enough to be able to write up that ticket.
Well, after all the ribbing that you've given folks down in the Commonwealth, don't think about speeding down there.
Please. They know that I'm crazy about them over there in the Commonwealth. Come on. I just rib you.
Well, I can take it.
2-0 the count on Matt Downs, batting for the first time. And he shoots one into right field. Left field, I beg your pardon. A base hit. On to second goes Barbas. So a 2-on with a 5-run lead. And 2 men out. And Michael Bourne is coming up. And apparently Logan Andrusik is coming out. Well, when the Reds come back, May 13th through the 15th, it's a Reds and the Cardinals presented by KOI Auto Parts. And, of course, Friday we have the pregame and postgame performance by Creedence Clearwater Revisited. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Andrusik is out. 2 on, 2 out. And here comes Aroldis Chapman. Cardinals in town. The first 10,000 fans 14 and younger receive a Reds Kids cap courtesy of Bixen Oxidol. Get tickets to see the Reds and the Cardinals. 381-REDS or visit reds.com today. A lot of kids getting out of school a wee bit early today. And an early exit in the 7th inning here for Logan Andrusik. Allows a couple of hits. Gets a couple of outs, and now it's Aroldis Chapman.
Well, Aroldis Chapman has inherited 4 runners on the year. None of them have scored. He's the only guy in the bullpen for the Reds that has been perfect in that particular department. Had 2 days off. Good day to get him in there.
Of course, he allowed his first 2 earned runs this season, his last time out. When the Florida Marlins got a couple of runs, 1 hit, 3 walks against Chapman. That was a game the Reds came from behind, tied the game in the 8th and won it in the 10th. Two on, 2 out, and a 1-1 pitch to Michael Bourne is low and away.
we were at the ballpark may have been thinking that the radar gun here was broken. First pitch that he threw was a breaking ball. Slowest pitch I've ever seen him throw at 82 miles an hour. Next one at 88. Then he pumped the fastball in at 98.
Chapman trying to put away Bourne and the Astros here in the 7th. 2 on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ball 3. And the control issues continue for Chapman. Told you his last outing in 1 inning he walked 3 batters. He walks the first batter he faces here today, and all of a sudden the Astros have a chance to get right back in this game. They're loaded with 2 out, and here's Bourgeois, who's bounced to short, drawn a walk, singled, stolen a base, and scored a run. Jumped all over that fastball, did Bourgeois, and too far out in front. Hit very hard, but foul.
Well, he's got an advantage now of knowing the bases loaded. There's nowhere for Chapman to put him. And Chapman was more likely to throw a fastball for a strike than a breaking ball for a strike. So after missing 1-0, he knew a heater was coming. Maybe not so sure on this one.
From the slider off the inside corner, and it's 2 balls and a strike.
All right, so now you're thinking along with Jason Bourgeois, you're thinking the same thing he did after Chapman missed with the first pitch. Missed with a breaking ball, got to come back with a fastball. Missed with another breaking ball, got to come back here with another fastball, right? Doesn't.
3-1 now on Bourgeois.
Got to make him put the ball in play here.
Balls and a strike, bases loaded, 2 men around the inning, and Chapman has walked in a run. The tying run will come to the plate. Chapman has come on and walked 2 batters in a row. Not a single home run between the first 2 batters this year that Chapman has faced in this inning, and now all of a sudden he's facing a guy not necessarily with a ton of power in Hunter Pence, but certainly a very experienced run producer in Hunter Pence.
A guy that can put the bat on the ball, especially against a hard thrower. Where you really have a good matchup against Hunter Pence is when you've got a sidewinding right-hander that can touch that outside corner, because he really doesn't cover that much. But he's got a quick bat. And you're right, Tom, he's experienced at the plate, maybe the most so of anybody on this Astro ball club.
Boy, Dusty Baker just saying, when are we going to have an easy one? Well, it has been a long time.
You know, you start walking guys with the bases loaded in a 6-run ball game. It's like in basketball, allowing the other team to score with the clock stop by shooting free throws. Why foul them if you've got a big lead? Well, kind of what they're doing right here.
Bear in mind now, Pence is the tying run all of a sudden in this game. And that one thrown all the way to the backstop. I mean, we only saw one game this entire year until last Saturday where control was an issue for Chapman. And now it's 2 outings in a row where it's very much an issue. Well, some might say, oh, yeah, give me a break. It's only 2 batters. It's 2 batters, and it's 2 walks.
Well, you want to also define when you can use certain pitchers. And if Chapman comes in unable to throw strikes, you're not going to bring him into a tight situation where you have to have some strikes thrown. I mean, the good news about Chapman, obviously, he's got the stuff to strike out the side. Bad news is he's not always in the right area code yet.
Well, Nick Massett and now Bill Bray are getting loose in the Reds bullpen. When this inning began, it was a 6-1 Reds lead, and all was right with the world. And now all of a sudden there's a base hit in the left field that'll bring in 2 more runs, and the game is on now all of a sudden in Cincinnati. The Astros have scored 3. Chapman has faced 3 and retired none. And it is a 6-4 game, and that's it for Chapman.
Dusty Baker hesitating just one more moment to make sure that Bill Bray's had a chance to warm up. They're going to call for the left-hander Bray with the damage that's been done. There'll be another day for Chapman, but not today.
Outings by Aroldis Chapman. Gave up 2 runs, walked 3 his last time. Does not retire a batter today, a hit and 2 walks. But more importantly, the Astros are back in this game. What was 6-1 is now 6-4. 2 on, 2 out, and here comes Bill Bray to try and get the final out in the inning.
4 days off for Aroldis Chapman may have been too many. I mean, that's how many he has had between the times he's been out there. Had not pitched since the Marlins were in town. But all of that is a moot point now. He will face one of the tougher left-handers in this lineup. Bill Bray will, and Brett Wallace. And Bray's been good. For the most part, throwing strikes. 10 strikeouts, only 4 bases on balls given up. Wallace will be looking for a first pitch fastball here.
Well, this is a huge situation here for Bill Bray. Trying to put out the fire in this Astros 7th. Both runners go, and a throw to second. And nobody directly covering the bag. Phillips able to run it down. And how about the Astros? Getting now that tying run in scoring position, the very first pitch in the at-bat to Wallace.
That's a heads-up play by the Astros. It really is. And what normally happens is the catcher will try to get the second runner, the guy lagging there, and because he's usually the one that gets the worst jump. Well, no one was there at second base.
0-1 to Wallace. And now Bray had nothing in 2.
Back-to-back breaking balls, both of them sliders from Bray to Wallace.
So can Bray get that elusive third out in this inning? Brusik started the inning. Got an out, allowed a hit, got an out, allowed a hit. In came Chapman, walk, hit. Oh-2 pitch. Just missed. Carlos Lee sighting in an Astros uniform for the first time. Lee would back should we get that far for the pitcher Del Rosario. Bray trying to end the inning right here and right now. Slow roller, not going to be an easy play. Giannis makes it and the inning is over. Well done, Paul Giannis and Bill Bray. Astros get 3. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 7th with a 2-run lead. And the Reds go to Chicago at Wrigley Field to battle the Cubbies. Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week at a special time, 12:30 Eastern, beginning with This Week in Baseball. Bronson Arroyo and Casey Coleman, the expected pitchers in that Saturday afternoon tilt. Reds lead 6-4. Angel Sanchez takes over at second base for Bill Hull, who was thrown out of the game. And now taking over on the mound is Jeff Fulcino. He came on to pitch in the 8th inning yesterday. Retired the Reds in order.
18th appearance now for Jeff Fulcino. That is the second most appearances of anybody in the major leagues. So Brad Mills going to his bullpen often. That's something that may have an issue down the line come August or September.
Unless that kid, like you said earlier, who pitched here yesterday, pitches like that the rest of the year, because, you know, we know that Jay Happ's going to pitch some good baseball when all is said and done for the Astros this year. And
Brett Myers will give you another 220, 230 innings like he normally does.
Ronnie Rodriguez, a solid left-hander. they've got a chance to have a decent rotation. Renteria rolls over at foul. Edgar 1 of 3, making his 9th start of the year today at shortstop. Had a run-scoring single in the 5th inning. Astros coming in 12 wins against 18 losses, and those kind of games like they had yesterday are the ones that really sting late into the night. You've held the other team to just 1 hit through 8 innings. Easily could have been a no-hitter at the end of 8 innings. And then you don't get an out in the 9th, and your closer gets beat, gives up 3 runs.
Yeah, and then gets on a plane today to go back to Houston to get his arm checked out. Not only did they lose the game, they lost their closer, and they're shorthanded down there.
Strike 3 called on Renteria.
The hitters on both sides are complaining a little bit tonight or this afternoon about Tom Howie in strike zone.
That'll bring up Joey Votto. 1 hit, 3 at bats, singled and scored back in the 4th inning. Reds got 1 in the 2nd and an RBI single by Hannigan. Ryan knocked in 2 with a single to left field in the 4th inning. Izzy had a bunt hit in the 5th, stole a base, scored on a single by Renteria. And the Reds got 2 more in the 6th inning to go up 6-1. Double by Gomes, sac fly RBI by Giannis, pinch hit solo home run by Fred Lewis. Before the Astros got 3 in this 7th inning to make it a 2-run game. 0-2 to Joey Votto. I tell you, we had a chance yesterday. I say we, my son and I had a chance coming to the game here yesterday. And, you know, we decided to have a little fun and start bouncing around the ballpark. Votto swings and fouls it out of play. We sat down behind home plate in the lower level. Went up, sat behind home plate in the upper level, in the upper deck above our booth. Went and sat down the right field line in the upper deck. Sat in the first row down there where the Riverfront Club is, up above there in the upper deck. Sat out in right field, out beyond the wall, out by the Jeff Weiler sign out there. And, you know, you find out, you know, one of the ushers was ribbing me a little bit and saying, now you're finding out how the other half lives. There's a check swing, and they appealed. Votto went around. Actually didn't even appeal. The home plate umpire, Tom Hallion, rung him up. And that's strike 3, 2 away in the inning. You know, you find out, Chris, and I know you do that from time to time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really cool to see what the different seats are like and give you a perspective of what a lot of people are seeing from their vantage point when they're buying a ticket. I'll tell you, the ushers, the security people around here, the vendors, the guys that are carrying the load, whatever it might be, whether it's ice cream, carrying the beer, carrying the peanuts, whatever it is. There are a lot of hard-working folks that do a great job around this ballpark.
You're right about that, Tom. I'll tell you, this is really a fan-friendly place. Of all the seats I've sat in, and I've been all around the ballpark, I don't think I've ever been in one where I wouldn't want to go back to.
I agree.
It's great. It really is, especially if you get a sun splash day like today.
There's a bouncer to the right side, and the Reds are going in order in the 7th. So the Astros are right back to the plate. Reds 6, Houston 4. Coors Light Cold Hard Blast. Pinch hit home run for Fred Lewis. Coming in the bottom of the 6th inning. And welcome aboard, Fred Lewis, just activated from the disabled list.
Yeah, did not know it at the time, but that's a big run. I mean, it just looked like another add-on run at that point. The Reds had a 6-1 lead. 5-1 lead. He makes it 6-1. Nick Massett, 15th game. He's back into the number 8 inning hole. As a setup to Francisco Cordero. We need a nice clean inning here.
Of course, he's in that role today, bat of necessity, but because of what happened with both Logan Ondrusek and Aroldis Chapman, the idea undoubtedly was to have Ondrusek complete the 7th, Chapman the 8th, Cordero maybe in the 9th. You didn't figure on the Astros getting into a spot where you might need your closer to save a game. But obviously Ondrusek retired a couple of batters, allowed a couple of hits, and it turns out a couple of runs after Chapman comes in, walks 2, including one with the bases loaded, then allows a 2-run single to make it a 2-run game before Bill Bray got the final out in that 7th inning. So now Massett back in the old role for the time being anyway. And well, if he'd like to get that old job back, this would indeed be a great time to have that clean inning.
I get the feeling that there's nothing job duty-wise set in stone down there, except for Bill Bray being the left-handed specialist. Everybody else is in a state of flux, depending on how you're pitching. And I'm sure that Dusty would like to have some kind of a guiding plan to say, all right, I want Cordero on the 9th. That's a given. I want this guy in the 8th. I want these guys in the 7th leading up to it. And that's the way I want to use the bullpen, because the players themselves, they want to know when they're likely to be used as much as he wants a plan. But you got to have some consistency out of him, and we've not seen that. Well, we've seen it from Ondrusek until today. We've seen it from Chapman for the most part. We've not seen it from Massett.
Well, you mentioned the name Bray. I mean, here's a guy, because of the issues with Massett, because of how well Ondrusek has pitched, just based on the sheer talent of Aroldis Chapman. And Bray has certainly been overlooked in the job that he is doing so far this year. With an ERA, it starts with a 0.
Yeah.
Angel Sanchez bats for the first time today, and a 2-2 from Massett. Slow roller, Phillips to his right. Good way to get it started here in the 8th for Nick Massett. Of course, the last time we saw Nick was a finale of that Marlins series where he came in the 8th inning and retired the first 2 batters. He then allowed a home run. After the homer, he walked a batter, allowed a hit, and then allowed a 3-run home run. Brian Bugasiewicz will bat for the pitcher Fulcino, who goes a perfect inning with a couple of strikeouts. Meanwhile, the Marlins have given Josh Johnson a 2-1 lead in St. Louis. That's a finale of a 4-game series, and the Marlins are trying to make it 3 wins in 4 games with their ace on the mound. A 2-1 game with the Marlins batting in the top of the 6th inning at Busch Stadium. 0-2 to count. Mets in the 7th inning at home with a 5-2 lead over the defending world champion Giants. An abbreviated schedule, but everything else will be tonight. Milwaukee and Atlanta, Washington and Philly, Colorado and Arizona. Just threw a fastball at 96 miles per hour right by him.
Well, if you talk to the bullpen catchers and the bullpen coach, Porky Lopez, down there, they'll tell you that other than Aroldis Chapman, there's nobody on this ball club that has the kind of stuff that Nick Massett does. It's a matter of throwing it where you want to. And he is right underneath that high fastball. That shows me that that ball's by him. Just not sinking like he anticipated. 2 up, 2 down.
One and one on Barmes. Two and one on Barmes. Barmes had a 1-out single an inning ago and wound up scoring the first of the 3 Houston runs. To pull within 2, and that's where we stand with 2 out and nobody on here in the top of the 8th inning. Massett looking for a 1-2-3-8. Well, it's just good old country hardball right there. Two and two now on Barmes, and here comes a pitch, and it misses outside, so a full count. Well, you got to make him earn his way on now.
Yes, you do.
Humberto Quintero waits in the on-deck circle. Here's a 3-2 pitch on Barmes. Throw him a fastball, and Barmes able to foul it away. Quintero without a home run so far this year. Massett nodding his head in agreement with a sign given by Ryan Hannigan. Struck him out swinging on a 96-mile-per-hour fastball up and in. Well done by Massett. Gate Outdoor Luxury Suite right here at Great American Bell Park. directly above the owner's suite behind home plate. Can handle 30 all the way up to 48. Reserve your game day today by calling the Reds Group Sales at 513-765-7600. And if you're coming to the ballpark, come to the Reds and stay for more fun. Make it a home run weekend and visit the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. Beautiful day to be out in the sunshine. See that dude there tanning his boiler?
Yeah. They sell large size sunscreen bottles.
They do. Nelson Figueroa now on the pitch.
Hey, if you can't relax at the ballpark, where
there's
can you
no
relax?
doubt.
You know what I mean?
If you can't tan your boiler at Great American Ballpark, where can you tan? That ball is scolded by Jay Bruce. Deep into the right center field seats. That's a big run right there for the Reds to make it a 3-run game.
Well, 3 hits on the day for Jay Bruce. A little seeing eye base hit in the second inning. Then a hard hit ball in the gap, right center field on a low pitch. And then this, another low pitch. Well, he just went down there to get that one. A little backdoor slider attempt by Nelson Figueroa. See ya.
So a 3-hit day today for Bruce after delivering the game-winning hit in a 3-run comeback in the 9th inning yesterday. So maybe he's getting ready to hit one of those streaks, Chris, and we've seen him. And, man, when he gets it rolling, look out. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. Been a good day for this guy as well, Johnny Gomes. He's walked twice, doubled, and scored a run. And 1 to Gomes. Breaking ball swung on and fouled out of play. So now a little bit of breathing room for Francisco Cordero. Obviously still in that save range with a 3-run spread. But even in that game yesterday, there's just such a different feel. As this ball is launched by Gomes into right center field, Bourne tracks it down in front of the wall. That's a nice play by Michael Bourne.
Boy, Bourne was actually shading Johnny Gomes a little bit around towards second, or towards the left side of second base. Had to go a long way to get to that. Just hung up there just enough for him to tag, to grab it. When you're playing outfield down there in Houston, that Minute Maid Park, that's about as big a center field as you'll see. 436 feet to dead center field. You need a speedy center fielder.
So, you know, we talk all the time about the Reds' defense in the outfield, especially on games. And it's not a knock on Gomes because we've talked about how well he's played left field this year. But when the Reds have Heisey, Stubbs, and Bruce, you know, we talk often about how it's hard to imagine a better defensive outfield than when that trio is together. Well, this is a very good defensive trio for Houston when they're together.
It is very athletic. Probably the fastest outfield you'll see in the National League, at least. Probably in all of baseball. Because Bourne and Bourgeois, they're both burners. And Pence at one time when he came up, he was a guy that they thought would steal a lot of bases.
a good day for Ryan Hanigan. 2 hits and 3 at bats, 3 runs batted in. The Reds have 10 hits, 7 runs in the game. And they're 3 outs away from winning a series where about this time yesterday, if somebody would have told you that, you'd have never believed it. They had 1 hit through the first 8 innings yesterday before the 3-run rally in the 9th. There's a single to center by Hanigan, his 3rd hit today. And they've been swinging it pretty much all afternoon on this Thursday. Show for 2, drove in a run with a sac fly in the 6th inning. First pitch swinging, pops it up, a long run for Pence. Did he catch that ball? No. What an effort by Pence. Not only near the wall, but also near the tarp.
Now, we talked about it the other night, Tom, the first night of this series, how he just comes to play. And, you don't see that many right fielders leave their feet to make a catch like this in a visiting ballpark where they really don't get the feel of how close they are to the fence. Guy's a hustler.
And if you're an Astros fan, how is Hunter Pence not your favorite player on the team?
Yeah.
It's just not saying anything against any other player, but when you see effort like that, that's a ball player.
Mm-hmm.
Field, a base hit by Giannis, sending Hanigan to second. The 3 hits against Figueroa here in the Reds' 8th inning, and it continues now for the pinch hitter Drew Stubbs. Stubbs batting for Masson. A perfect inning for Nick in the 8th with a couple of strikeouts. Well, should there be a save chance, obviously Cordero will come into the game. But if this lead increases any more here in the last of the 8th inning, Sam LeCure is getting loose. Oh, 1 to Stubbs. Stubbs walked leading off the 9th inning, of course, yesterday against Brandon Lyon, and scored the first of the 3 runs to win. Stubbs. Be right back on the air tomorrow on Fox Sports Ohio. Our game coverage gets underway at 2 o'clock Eastern. Of course, Reds Live will begin at 1:30. We'll be coming your way from Wrigley Field in Chicago. That one in the air and out of play. Of course, it's an excellent pitching matchup in the first game of that series between the Reds and the Cubs. Edinson Volquez against right-hander Matt Garza. Saturday, that'll be on the Fox network. That's Bronson Arroyo and Casey Coleman. And then Sunday, Johnny Cueto, his first start in 2011 against Ryan Dempster. And again, our Reds Live coverage begins at 1:30, game coverage at 2. Tomahawked into deep left field, and it's up against the wall. Rounding third is Hanigan. He'll score. They will stop the runner at third base behind him, Giannis. A pinch hit run scoring double by Stubbs makes it an 8-4 lead.
All Well, you play a little add-on. That's what good teams do. They don't let the other team get back in it, although the Reds did that earlier in the ball game with a bullpen meltdown. The offense comes back in time, and Drew Stubbs thought he had a day off, but he'll take a 1-for-1 with a double anytime.
Now Chris Heisey, 1 of 3, has also drawn a walk, stolen a base, scored a run, and now he's knocked in a run. Landing deep enough in center field to bring in Giannis, and that'll make it a 9-4 game. Throw goes into thirds, and Stubbs is safe there. Hopefully Stubbs is all right. He had a very funny slide there into third, and is still bent over at the waist and talking to Mark Berry down there.
I think he skinned his knee up. You know, this infield is kind of hard. And you slide on it, and that's what exactly I think what he's looking at. He probably skinned his knee up, probably already has a Strawberry working there. But he was really pouring it on coming into third base. I mean, there's no play on it, but you see how hard he slides into third?
Yeah, I mean, he was looking at the left knee, but the right ankle is what really hit that bag so hard. He runs so fast and had a late slide into the bag. He appears to be all right. That's good news. Bouncing ball into left field. Another hit and another RBI for Renteria, his second of the game. So the Reds pouring it on now with a 4-run 8th inning. It's a 10-4 lead. Joey Votto, ball 1. Homer Bailey still the pitcher of record. On the victorious side, if the Reds can nail this one down, Brett Myers on the hook for what would be his second loss in 3 decisions. And now it will not be a save chance for the next Reds pitcher. Votto a hit and 4 at-bats has scored a run. Foul. Still 2-2 to Joey Votto. And 2 now on Votto. And Figueroa delivers, and a line drive caught by the second baseman. But the Reds with a 4-run 8th lead 10-4 as we go to the ninth. now for the John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Getting that ever elusive third out in the Houston 7th inning. Nice play by Giannis, keeping what was a 2-run lead intact until the Reds came up with 4 runs in the just completed bottom of the 8th inning. And they lead 10-4 as Sam LeCure will take over on the mound and try and pick up the final 3 outs and give the Reds back-to-back wins. That is something they have not done in a long time. Win back-to-back games. You know, up until they slipped under 500 by losing a couple in a row, they had been winning a game, losing a game, winning a game, losing a game for over 2 weeks. The last time they had back-to-back wins, you go back to April the 12th, so nearly a month ago.
Isn't this a little bit? It was kind of like the season, the way it laid out last year. The Reds about this time were right around 500.
That's right.
And then during the month of May, they went out and won 18 ball games and never really looked back. They played very good baseball. And Dusty's referred to this several times about how this club is capable of going out there and running off 4, 5, 6, 7 victories in a row. But, you know, things haven't gelled yet. Well, maybe with the addition of getting those 2 guys back into the rotation, it kind of gives you a little bit better flow from game to game. You hope so. You hope that this 14-hit, 10-run outburst today is something that you have to wait. You don't have to wait a week between seeing.
LeCure strikes out Humberto Quintero to start the 9th inning. MLB.com at bat 11. Text 31826 or visit Reds.com for details. Sam LeCure made some very nice starts for the Reds last year and this year. Of course, he was in the rotation up until just this week. But man, last season, LeCure pitched brilliantly out of the Reds bullpen. And Chris, I would imagine he has found his home there maybe for a long, long time to come.
Well, he's a valuable pitcher because he's rubber arm, number one. He can pitch back-to-back-to-back days. He comes out and throws strikes. He's got confidence enough to pitch inside and use his breaking stuff and off-speed stuff to keep hitters off balance. And he never seems to be shaken out there. The guy is just a real cool customer. I think there's a lot of teams that could use a guy like Sam LeCure, their bullpen.
So a 2 away now for Michael Bourne. Steal right 1.
That's the changeup. I mean, he's got just so much confidence in the pitches that he throws. You never try to see him do things that he can't do, which you just challenge hitters down the middle with a high fastball.
And a strike on Bourne. Bourne 0 for 3 has walked, scored a run. But the Reds will go back to a game over 500. Florida's taken a 3-2 7th inning lead over the Cardinals. Reds beginning play today, a game and a half behind St. Louis in the Central. To the board. There's a bouncing ball to Votto. Nice play. The feed is in time, and the Reds have won it by a final count of 10-4, and they've won back-to-back games for the first time since April the 12th in San Diego.
Well, what an effort by Homer Bailey. Welcome him back to the Major League, the starting rotation this afternoon. Our checklist, Tom, at the very back end of the Reds Live pregame show. Started out with established Homer Bailey. Get him out there, get his feet wet, get him into some kind of a rhythm. Boy, he had some kind of a rhythm this afternoon because he went out and struck out 7 batters in 6 innings, gave up only 1 run. That's the kind of start you want to build on. And I'm sure that as you head on to Chicago with these guys, that they'll be getting a little momentum going and have some fun in the Windy City.
Well, let's hope that's the case as the sun is shining brightly on the Reds here today, coming from behind to win yesterday and a 6-run victory today. We'll be back with more in a moment.